Most people think that the amount of work you complete in a day is all due to luck or random chances, but it's not. All you need is a 3-point system that forces you to be consistent every single day and make work feel effortless without needing a giant routine to follow in a day. Let's dive right into the system. You see, I've been building this system for the past year or so, and you can see on the screen like the work hours I've completed is basically that every single day for the past year. It's forced me to stay consistent in my business while managing my school, while managing my entire personal life. And the same has happened with my clients. Just before I go into this 3-point system, I'm just going to tell you a quick story. You see, around 2 years ago, I was lying on my bed. I'm literally synced into my bed. My biceps are basically just falling off my arms. My hands are just completely dead as well. But despite being so tired, I've got the biggest smile on my face. You see, that day I finished like 8 hours of deep work on my business. I completed what usually took me a week to be done in a day, and I just kept on having this one thought pop inside my head when I'm just lying there. My brain's just completely mush at this point, right? I keep thinking, imagine if every single day was like this. Imagine if every single day I woke up, I completed all my business work. You know, I had time to spend with my friends, I had time to enjoy myself as well. Imagine if every single day was like that. That thought sticks with me throughout the entire night. But as I wake up in the morning, that smile slowly turns into a frown as I reach over my desk and grab my phone. I grab my phone, I say to myself, right, remember what happened last time we did this? We didn't work for 8 hours, we didn't even do 30 minutes of work, we just procrastinated the entire day. So anyway, I try to fight this urge, but no matter what I do, I open my phone, I go on YouTube, and I start scrolling, and scrolling. That productive self that I had yesterday has completely gone out the window, and I know at this point that I'm not going to get any work done. Every single time I had this breakthrough where I'll complete like lots of work in a day, right? I would go to sleep feeling super happy. The next day, everything would just crumble down once again. But it was then when I realized a very important lesson, and this lesson is this entire system that I'm about to go over with you right now, this trifecta system. Now, the reason why this problem exists is simply because you're way above your usual work rate. You see, when you have those super productive days, you expect like the next day is going to be way more productive than that. You expect you're going to go from 5 hours of work to 12, when really it's the opposite. You go from the peak to the low to the peak. And when you think like this, when you constantly have this super high expectation of yourself to do more work than the last day, that's when you get into the cycle of inconsistency. But the weird thing is, this problem was just solved when I implemented this trifecta system. Because like, you know, productivity and working hard in a day is very similar to climbing a snowy mountain. I want you to imagine you're this mountaineer, right? I don't know why you choose to climb at Snowdon, which is like this very snowy mountain, and you do it in the winter, you're bloody crazy. So you start climbing up there with no one to support you. You start climbing, and as time goes on, you reach the clouds, you go above the clouds. It's beautiful, but your hands are starting to freeze. You can't move your limbs anymore, right? You keep on pushing through it, but soon enough, your entire immune system just fails and you fall to the floor, rolling down the hill like a snowball. But just think for a second, imagine if when we had this frostbite, when we couldn't move our limbs, we just took shelter, we got a campfire going, right? Do you think we would be more productive the next day? We'd get higher in the mountain? Of course we would. And this is exactly how you need to think of your work. You do not want to one-up the day before when you're super productive, because what's going to happen is your current brain is going to force you to be inconsistent again. You need to do certain things to stay consistent and not get into this weird dip, alright? And these certain conditions, these things you need to do are going to become really clear with this system I'm about to go over right now. You see, there's 3 points to this triangle, this trifecta system that allows you to stay consistent. And the thing is, if one of these points isn't working, it isn't functioning, none of it will work. And this is why it's so important you do not skip the video, you watch the entire thing all the way through to understand how to implement all these things at once. The first part of this system is to realize your habits are just like progressive overload. If you've ever been to the gym, there's this concept called progressive overload, where basically you start out at a very small weight and you gradually increase it as time goes on. This is like the most optimal way to grow your muscles, because imagine if you're just like this super skinny kid, right? The day one you go to the gym, you try to bench 100 kg, it just falls on your neck. So what I want you to understand is the more you do something, the less mental resistance or friction there is to do it every single day. It's like, for example, I hope you do not procrastinate on brushing your teeth. That action is so easy for you to do because you've been doing it your entire life. And this is why I recommend to all my clients, and it works so well for them, that you need to systemize and progressively overload over time how long you're going to be working. I remember when I was first in my business, which was like cooperating, right? It was ages ago. And what I used to do, because I hated cold calling, I hated going on the phone with businesses trying to pitch them, because most of the time I just get told to fuck off, right? Instead of trying to do like 100 cold calls in a day, I just set the goal to do one cold call, and every single week I increased that number by 10, and basically I never lost consistency after that point. I never missed a day. And that's what you need to do. If you look look at how many hours you're working right now. I want you to find the optimal point that you're working at, and I want you to increase your work hours by at least one task every single week, because what happens is your brain puts that 30 minutes in its comfort zone, so you can start to become consistent with that. So that's the first part of the system. I want you to progressively overload the time you're working. Now the second part of this system is to reduce the mental resistance to start. You see, 95% of the mental resistance you have in a task, the thing you're working on, is in the first 5 to 15 minutes of you starting it. As soon as you reach that, after that point, what happens is, this is basically part of the flow cycle. You have this release stage, which is the second one after the struggle. All the cortisol, which is basically the stress hormone, gets released from the brain, so you feel like you're floating on a cloud while you're working. It becomes effortless. So the more you reduce the mental resistance, which I'm about to talk to you how to do right now, the easier it will be to stay consistent, actually start the task, and as soon as you get to that point, you'll be able to focus on the intensity. Okay, now the way you reduce the mental resistance is by doing two things, and the first one is something very practical. It's by planning tomorrow today, because what happens to most people is they wake up not knowing what the hell to work on. They have this business, they have like 5 calls to attend, they don't know how to order the day, so they end up procrastinating, not deciding what to do. It would be so much better if you literally knew exactly what you would be doing as soon as you woke up, and that's where planning tomorrow today comes in. Every single night I spend 20 minutes planning what I'm going to do. I spend 20 minutes just thinking, okay, I'm going to start with this task, I'm going to open this document, I'm going to work on this for 45 minutes, and I'm going to, take a break or something. When you order your day like that and you plan it like that specifically, all the decision fatigue goes out inside your brain, and all the mental resistance just flushes away. Now the next thing you can do to really reduce the mental resistance is just think to yourself, like, what is so mentally draining about the task? What do you hate about it? Because I guarantee you can pinpoint something that you hate about the task. Because what happens sometimes when I'm recording these videos is my phone just randomly turns off, or it just runs out of storage, and you know how annoying that is. You can probably pinpoint to something like that that really frustrates you, and I want you to think of some ways you can get rid of this, or at least change it. Like, for example, if I didn't want my phone to turn off, I could charge my phone the night before, right? I could free up some space on my phone to stop it from just randomly stop recording. So I'll never face that problem again, and that mental resistance just flushes away. Now the final part of this trifecta system, and to wrap it all up, is something called ideal replication. This is something you never heard of, and it's basically a concept I've just come up with 5 minutes ago. If you look back to the super productive days you've had, like when you did like 8 hours of deep work, right? And you simply broke them down into like specific things you did every single second from waking up to the moment you go to bed, it would be so much easier to stay consistent. Because I guarantee there's some things you did differently to now where you're inconsistent to the days where you're consistent. And even just seeing what you did the night before helps as well. When you think like this and you actually like still have that consistent mindset, like, okay, I'm going to replicate this day because I did super well. Every single day becomes like that. It's not that hard to do. This is the trifecta system, and this is exactly how I solve my inconsistency problems. And like I said, you need to do these 3 things if you really want to become consistent in your business, make more money online. And by the way, to wrap everything up, if you're a young entrepreneur who wants to get into a flow state for 6+ hours a day, completely blow up your business, make more money online by, become more productive, doing way more work, then click the first link in the description and the pinned comments to join my free school community, where you get a free one-on-one call with me and a ton of courses, bonuses, resources that will really help you. Okay, goodbye, have a nice day. You're gonna elbow in the face again. Goodbye.